I thank God for peace, wisdom, knowledge, and discernment. And one might say, why? I'm very grateful for the things that many that we take for granted, many take for granted, you know, because we live in a world that is so controlled where mind control is happening on a large scale, where there's so much stuff that's happening so fast, and a lot of us are living the same day over and over again, and a lot of times that can look like living on autopilot, where you don't recognize where you're being handled and where it is really supplementing stagnancy, where it's not encouraging and challenging you to evolve. Don't be that individual that get caught up in the technology and AI, and everything is supposed to be used for a tool. But don't go to sleep. Do not fall asleep. Please don't fall asleep and be finessed or be bamboozled into thinking that everything that happens as it relates to technology, even AI, that it is in the highest interest of humanity. I'll give you an example. When they take cursive out of the curriculum, when they take books out of the curriculum, and the majority of everything is happening on a tablet or is happening on a laptop, that's a problem. When children are encouraged to use AI and use technology, when I was growing up, it was encouraged to Google things, but it was very much encouraged to write penmanship. Cursive was a thing, but critical thinking was encouraged. Nowadays, the children are being encouraged to use AI, and you type in an idea and you get a layout of ideas for whatever project that they are tackling, versus using their own mind, just like a lot of us had to growing up, using your own mind and critical thinking to produce things, to create things, to develop things, to create profound insights and ideas. This is natural to our humanness, and this is a part of the supreme intelligence or the godly nature of a human being, right? Our human intelligence is being compromised. So when people are on the bandwagon of, oh, artificial technology, and they have nothing else to talk about but artificial technology, believe me, it is something that is going to create zombies in humanity, is going to create people who are numb, and people who are, excuse my French, it may offend some people, but some people who are absolutely dumbfounded because they no longer have exercised that mind muscle. There is a lot of things that by human nature and humanity has exercised that mind muscle. And it's very important for the development of the mind. When people are concerned, saying that they are concerned about cognitive decline, about dementia, and all of these different mental illnesses, and saying that they are concerned that they will happen in young ages, not in elderly ages, that shouldn't only be alarming to myself, that should be alarming to everybody. The man with the last name Musk talked about how, and a lot of people, they praise this individual and they are fans of this individual because of his level, because his contribution to evolving technology, the digital age and the age of technology. Some things are good for the development of technology, but when people aren't accountable and they do not tell people what the pros and cons is or what the risks are of using certain technologies, that's where the problem is. People such as the individual with the last name Musk, they will always promote what is going to be exciting and how it's so great, but they never tell people what the risks are. For example, children who sit on game systems, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation or whatever, and they get hooked on those game systems, or they get hooked on social media and all of these different things, and they're left to their devices, and they begin to develop mental illnesses like depression or anxiety or ADHD. You know, the attention span of society is decreasing by the day. So again, when a person wants to promote their technology and their business, and they're saying that they're, sending humanity in the right direction, and they're so excited in things, but they never tell you what the cons are to it. It's kind of like when you take a medicine, when the medicine is supposed to help one thing, but there are side effects to it, right? It helps one thing, but then it hurts another. So kind of like the same thing, right? With technology, with AI, the whole nut in the shell, and what I'm really trying to share, and the point that I'm trying to get across in this message, is that I hope that you are not one of the people that is going to be bamboozled and be fooled into believing that humanity is not heading into a direction of clueless, unaware individuals. Humanity is day by day, slowly but surely, maybe even at a rapid pace, becoming very lazy. Not only lazy, but, for me, different levels of intelligence is absolutely important. Intelligence has a place, just like a lot of other things. And quite honestly, I admire intelligence. But what I don't want to encourage and promote is something that is artificial intelligence, meaning that it is mimicking and mocking human nature and human design on so many levels. And then people will lose out, and there will be people that will suffer. And even though I am a competent individual, and I am tech savvy, or I am, computer literate, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't mean that I want to be forced to use certain technologies for every single area of my life. There are certain things that is needed for human development, for social development. There are certain skills that are being removed from the curriculum, removed from schools, if you will, that is being removed from society. So it is creating a divide in humanity, or human connectedness. When you have less people who are working in stores, and there are more, self-check kiosks, or there's less people, working in society, but everything is, everything is done by technology and through technology. If you just pay attention and watch, if you want to know if something is godly or not, all you have to do is just look at it and ask the question, is God reflected in this? For example, if a lot of jobs are being taken where there's not a lot of human connection, everybody is looking at their phones, everybody is looking for, a quick fix, the quick dopamine. Human connectedness is by the divine's design, or by God's design. So that lets you know in itself that it's not godly. There's nothing wrong with convenience, but pure laziness is not, it is not healthy for the evolution of mankind. So too much convenience actually leads to laziness, and that's the problem. When everything is so easy to be designed or created by technology or by artificial intelligence or by a robot, everything is given and created so easily, and it really doesn't take much to create it. It leaves room for error. It leaves room for it leaves room for there to be voids in human intelligence, in my opinion. Because again, if you're not working your mind muscle, if you know it, you know the saying, they say if you don't use it, you lose it. So don't believe the hype. All the tools, especially when we're talking about technology and artificial intelligence, it should be used in doses. Kind of like, people like me, when I say I have to deal with certain people or do certain things in doses for, for my sanity, for my mental state, and for my health, and for my peace and things like that. Sometimes you have to use certain things in doses. Sometimes you have to deal with, certain people and go around certain people in doses. Sometimes not at all, you know. Everything that glitter is not gold. Everything that people put in front of mankind to say, hey, do this. This is this is the new going thing. This is a trend. Just because it's a new thing and everybody is wanting to engage doesn't necessarily mean that we all should. It's kind of like, I just wish that more people would use their mind and really use their discernment if they had it. It's kind of like that thing where they say, oh, well, if everybody is saying it, excuse me, it's like when they say, oh, well, if everyone is saying the same thing, then it has to be true. Oh, for eons, people have been telling the same lie. Because we live in a day and time, and even in past times, where people will hear things and they won't fact check or do their homework, as I like to say, and people will say the same thing. And we live in a world where there's not a lot of critical thinkers, people that can actually think for themselves, people that can come up with their own ideas in their minds, people that can lead people out of danger if they needed to, people that probably can't even read a map, can't read a compass. There's just so many basic things that people cannot do. People cannot, it's sad, and it's very scary to say, but if common sense isn't common, then we know that we don't really have a lot to pick from as far as critical thinkers. And I want to be in connection and community with critical thinkers. I don't wish to, this is not to try to offend anybody. This is just me expressing my authenticity, myself authentically, and just saying, what it is that I would prefer. Because people are being bamboozled and they're being swindled and they're being handled by people who are the opposition, that are coming in disguise, pretending to be something that is for their best interest, when really it's all just a game of people with motives that are trying to, who are trying to come up or whatever, who want or need something out of taking advantage of other people. People do it all the time. And that's where life experience and wisdom come into play, or what we like to say, your discernment, or using your intuition. And you hear it so often, people saying it so often, that it's like, people say it so often, we hear so much of the same stuff that people don't even value it, as much anymore. But seriously, if you're not paying attention and you cannot critically think and you cannot use your own mind, if you can't handle yourself, someone is going to handle you. So while everybody is trying to keep up with, each other, everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses, everybody, they are pretty much basing their value and the values of others, the people that they love, the people that they like, the people that they want to keep around, based on the things that they have. I love nice things and I love cool things, but I'm not going to sacrifice myself, my peace, my relationship with the Most High, my spirituality, my integrity for things, and be walking around here looking stupid like either a pretty dummy or a rich ignorant fool. So excuse me for getting a little bit passionate, but at the end of the day, it's a very strange time that we're living in. People are unknowingly sacrificing themselves, and there are some things that one have to sacrifice, because at the end of the day, we all have to live. But there's some things, in my opinion, that is just absolutely is going to be a no for me. There's just some things that I'm not willing to accept. There are some things that I'm not willing to do. And when you can foresee things, like many of us can, when you can foresee that there are some things that is just not going to be good for yourself and for society in the future, in the coming days, you should really take heed to the signs. There's a lot that's going on the low. There's a lot that, these people in positions of power want us to be distracted from. There's a lot of pettiness that's going on that really needs to stop, like the issues that people have in their families, and, the issues that they have with people that's supposed to be significant to them, like their friends and things. And it's just like, at the end of the day, when you really think about it, putting all the childishness and all of the pettiness, because some people are just so petty, putting it to the side, and you really think about what's going on, a worldly scale, you think to yourself, using your wisdom and your discernment and your knowledge, and sometimes it's just basic common sense, knowing that everybody need each other for real, and if you are being handled, where you're being finessed, and if you're the type of person that you're trying to keep up with, technological stuff, but you're not too sharp up top, I mean, that really goes without saying, because people, they really need to do what they want to do. They're going to do what they want to do anyways. And like I always say, I wish people well, and people really, we get only one life, so you should, be happy. But what good am I to my neighbor, my brother, my sister, my fellow man or woman, whatever, if there's nothing up top, right? It's like, knock knock, there's a light on, but nobody's home. So that's my whole point. I definitely don't want to be that girl, or you definitely don't want to be that guy. And them saying, stay woke, staying aware, staying prepared, staying ready so you don't have to get ready. But owning your own dome and standing on that. It seems as though these things are just becoming more and more rare as I sit back and observe, and I just watch people, and just how everybody's just the same, and they ain't talking about nothing for real, They're not talking about nothing. So sometimes thinking that and realizing that and acknowledging that, it could be a very lonely place some days, But anyway, as I said, don't believe the hype. Do your homework, and just keep your eyes and ears open, And don't be finessed. Don't let nobody take advantage of you. Don't be finessed. Feed your mind muscle. Exercise your mind muscle. Do something that you never did before. Face your fears. Run towards your fears. Strange times.